So we have seen some people do top 16s already, like we saw some top 32s prior to this past week.
Very true. And we appear to be underway.
Uncle with the ever on point observation. To see this bootless until boost, this mirrorless until mirror.
That is the best item to see early on. Period. End of statement.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more. That's a mirror is something you want to get early on. It makes so much of your routing quicker. Either that, or you basically want it to be your go mode item. You don't want to find it 2/3 into the game.
Yeah. Well, also it leads to like 4.5-minute escapes.
Oh, that's a good point as well. Yeah. Hopefully both runners will get a chance to use that.
So we did get the Cane of Burna here for our weapon of choice today. Means the bomb farming will be a little bit sparse.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit something other than Burna. They had Burna during their first race, and Burna does tend to be the most common. I don't know whether the randomizer places certain key items like the bow and hammer elsewhere before deciding what goes with Uncle, and that's why we end up with a disproportionate number of Burna starts, but we do get quite a few of them.
So Burna can be pretty difficult to use, but the thing you just got to keep in mind is whenever you hit something, it's going to knock whatever you hit upward, no matter what you're doing. So just kind of pin it against the top wall and you'll be fine. As we see Problems do there, and Gem right behind.
Yeah, both of them demonstrating that technique very well. I actually learned that from hearing you explain it way back in the beginning of Swiss.
Very nice.
So Problems is using his Penguin Link sprite in honor of his own Twitch channel's Penguin Pete theme. So that's always nice to see when a runner can use their own themed sprite. Andy with his pug is another good example of something like that. Gem, I think, is just using a generic pink link.
Now, I do expect both runners to be using basically exclusive pot strats coming up here on the guard, or on the ball and chain guard, just to save that magic.
Yeah, like you said, they're probably going to mirror out after this as well. So if they do kill this one other green guard, that'll be their last chance to get green guards for them bomb farming.
Like that?
Exactly like that, Bob. Exactly like that.
And Problems does make use of the mirror.
So that's really important to know, because these different enemies are members of different prize pools, so they can have different items. You might have to kill 5 green guards to get a bomb, and then your first rat gives you an 8 bomb drop. So saving some magic for the back of escape, especially when the enemies are more densely packed, is a smart move. They have half their magic left, and there's 5 small magic pots back here.
5? That's more than I remember. Ooh.
There's one secret one that only I know of.
Oh, okay. I know there's 2 in the first room, and then like 2 in the room before the key rat.
There's our map. So we got 4 items left here. We've already got our key and the map out of the way. Ideally, you're going to come out of here with 4 bombs that'll let you get all the way through Kakariko, but having the minimum of 1 at least lets you full clear escape. Problems hasn't done any bomb farming here. Wants to get that key rat first.
Gets a full magic.
Yeah, that's a little bit disappointing, actually.
And at least it gives him the opportunity to farm some of these rats if he so desires. And that looks like no bombs for Problems, as Gem takes the 1 bomb from the green guard in the basement. So we get a little bit of an advantage in terms of checked items here. However, they're all garbage.
So no key progression there. That's definitely good news for Problems. He's going to have to come back here. Hopefully he won't mirror out of the sanctuary prior to walking out. If you don't exit the very first time before you use the mirror, it dumps you out at the front of Hyrule Castle, which can be a little bit awkward.
Maybe you wanted to go South Shore.
If you do, I think a save and quit to the Link's house is still quicker. So we talk about the bomb farming a lot because it's a standardized escape sequence. But as long as you get the gloves, it's not hard to get back there. Taking the graveyard shortcut.
There's our map check. We've got all Crystal Light World with a red crystal up on Tower of Hera. It looks like.
Early crystals is really nice. That's 3 dungeons that are going to be in the Dark World that are going to be pendants. Hopefully we'll end up with a pendant TR, a pendant swap, and a pendant ice.
And we've got double heart container Lost Woods here, with neither runner bothering to check the lumberjack.
2 hearts is very nice when you only have 3 and green mail, so at least they're bothering to pick them up. The lumberjack check, that doesn't surprise me. Most players these days, unless they have the lamp and they have the boots, and they know that they can actually get that item, they don't bother checking it anymore.
All right, so we see Problems is going for the back of the tavern, going to get 3 bombs there, which is basically what you were looking for at this point. And he's just going to go right back up to Blind's Hut, which makes some sense.
And I think Jem will probably take the same route, with both of them buying more bombs on their way out, assuming they don't get lots and lots of bombs in these chests.
Yeah. So Jem is actually... Was that the...
That was 3 bombs for Problems.
Okay. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and I thought it was the flippers. I was like, excuse me? But no. But it is the Moon Pearl and 300 additional rupees. Those rupees, I think, are actually why Problems went to Blind's Hut first, while Jem finds a sword in the Chicken Hut.
Yeah, I don't think that the routing of a glove on the bottle vendor, that's a lot of value there. Okay, so we have 2 of our 3 Dark World items now. Just a hammer is going to get us into the Dark World. It's a lot better than all the requirements that we still need for Aga. A lamp, another sword, or a lamp and a cape.
Oh, there's the Cane of Samaria in the back of Blind's Hut. That's not Blind's Hut, that's the well. I know what I'm looking at. And the flute. And the bombos. That is quite the litany of objects right there.
Yeah, absolutely. We get immediately to hear the Swag Duck anthem.
So everyone, make sure to salute the Swag Duck.
Problems probably feeling really happy finding that Cane of Samaria. Ended up spending a lot of time losing their first game searching for that item prior to heading up to GT. Really made a difference for him. So getting these key items out of the way early makes you feel really comfortable about your routing.
All right. So Jem now going to activate his Swag Duck. Both runners now with 3 bombs. Yeah, Problems is going to go ahead and purchase some more, because you might need a little more as you head towards South Shore. And you did pick up a bomb upgrade, so you've got room.
Yeah, no bombs being wasted. Even if it was only 7, I'd say it's probably worth the 50 rupees. They're doing fairly well on money at the moment. But that sword is going to mean that they don't need to waste bombs on mini Moldorms and other enemy kills.
That was the flippers, wasn't it?
gonna have to check the restream.
Oh yeah, we did
Oh.
neglect to say that the Moon Pearl
It was the
was in
flippers.
Blindside. Yeah.
Yeah, we noticed the Moon Pearl because we said that they were just a hammer away from Dark World access.
Yeah. Problems did go ahead and buy that glove, so that's important. He's going to also pick up these 50 rupees here on the race game. Both runners opting for the YOLO race game strategy, which is not bad when you've got the flute, because you can just kind of flute away if it's not any good.
True, and also with 13 bombs, they're not really worried about wasting a bomb at the moment. Using the mirror to push that block in the dam, it's always a nice trick. Rewarded with a bottle. They'll need to go back to Kakariko to turn that in, but like you said, they have the flute, so it's not a long trip.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see that happen either, say, right now or like right after Mini Moldorm Cave, because then you can flute there, do the thing, and then go back to 8.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Coming out of Mini Moldorm Cave, you probably would flute to 8 anyway, rather than walk over there. So fluting to 3 makes sense. Just see where the bottle is. Maybe you don't even go to Ice Rod Cave for a while.
Gem gets Problems gets robbed on the double bomb there. That should have hit both of those Moldorms.
Both players picking up the bomb before the screen transition to save a little bit of time. I don't think I've actually seen that before. No hype from the Mini Moldorm Cave today.
Nothing that I saw. I mean, unless you really, really want 10 additional bomb capacity.
No, I don't think you do. 10 bombs is more than enough. And they can hold 25 at this point, so they're fine on bombs, I think.
So Gem pulls out the flute. Problems already pulled out the flute. They both are Problems doing to 8. And Gem going to 5. So not
Very
bothering with the
interesting.
Ice Rod Cave. Not going to hurt him.
Yeah, it is faster to come back to later on if you get boots, and you know it's a fairly significant time commitment, even with the flute, just for a single item. Problems.
Yeah, fluting to 8 again.
Doing
yeah,
flipper stuff.
Now he is 150 rupees short of Zora money. So if he wants to get Zora, oh, there's the bow in the back of Sahasrala's closet.
That's going to let Gem immediately go full clear Eastern Palace. Eastern will be a sequence break without the lamp, but runners in the top 32 do not care about doing lampless seeds.
Who needs to be able to see?
Not Gem and not Problems IRL.
Especially when you have a sword. The sword makes it very doable. Doing these dark rooms swordless, not quite as fun. Interestingly enough, Problems going for the Hobo and not continuing the fake flipper trip, which makes some sense because Hobo's kind of out of the way. You want to take care of it.
Hobo, Zora, Spike Cave, these are all nice, kind of like terminal locations that it's nice to save and quit from. And he has the glove now, so this is his first chance to check the back of Escape. Very good idea to cross that off before you forget.
There will be some sort of abject disappointment here as we get just big 20s and pieces of heart.
Yeah, not having enough money to head up to do Zora, that makes a lot of sense. He knows where the flippers are. He knows that he'll be getting them if he gets the boots. I'd say there's no reason to rush the Zora's domain area.
And if we get Dark World access, you can combine it with Catfish, and that makes it great. But he is going to go check Agina's cave. So Problems is doing sort of the low percentage, or it's not really low percentage, it's just low density areas here, which is a perfectly reasonable play. in certain cases.
Yeah, I guess like low percent in the sense that it's a low items per minute rate, and there's a low probability that any given runner is going to prioritize these spots because they're out of the way. They have the same odds of having progression as any other other spot does. I think problems having this being game 3 and how close the first 2 games were, wants to be a little bit more aggressive in his play and is going to check some locations that Gem might not otherwise do. We're seeing him sequence break the old man now.
Yep, I imagine he'll probably finish. Well, he can't necessarily finish Hera, but he might try to finish Hera while he's up here.
I think he'll probably head up there and at least check the Spectacle Rock Cave item as well as the what's on top of the ledge. Going into Hera, if it's not Fire Rod locked for the basement, then I say by all means finish it and pick up that early crystal. There's
Speaking
the
of Fire Rod locked. Interestingly enough, the Fire Rod here lamp locked.
Interesting. So that does, knowing that Eastern is a crystal and we're gonna need to complete that dungeon. We know that the lamp is going to be somewhere pretty easy to get. And I like Gem making very good use of the Fire Rod to get through this Igor room. It's definitely doable with no fire source, but it's so much easier with the Fire Rod.
So before the race, there was a little bit of banter between the two runners about picking up the gloves and the Fire Rod early. Both gloves and the Fire Rod for the meme Ice Palace play.
Well,
just saying, we're just missing the gloves at this point. Though they do have the Moon Pearl. That was another part of their thing. They wanted to not have Moon Pearl.
Yeah, they know where the flippers are, so they know when they can get to Ice Palace.
Whoa! There's the hook shot in on Armos.
Damn, this route is absolutely paying off for Gem. The bow being in Sashirala's hut, immediately letting him full clear Eastern Palace, and having both the Fire Rod and the hook shot, 2 major progression items in this crystal dungeon. Wow.
And that's going to give him access to the vast majority of, say, Death Mountain.
Yeah, he's turning in a sick kid, which is a good thing to remember. Don't want to forget that. Just a little bit of love in this case. He is going to have to remember that logically the hook shot and the Fire Rod there are lamp locked spots. As long as you keep that in mind, though, it's not too hard to route around. Oh,
Problems just took the double fall in the hole there for Hera, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, Hera had the big key in the first floor chest, so he's able to full clear this dungeon without doing the basement. Could potentially be leaving one item behind, though. So I like that both runners did this old man rescue sequence break. It's not difficult to do, especially if you have the sword. And when you have the flute, this is really the best starting location you could possibly have. You get that full health refill, and then you can just quickly flute to wherever you want to go.
Yeah, very nice. And interestingly enough, giving them Zora money in case they want to do Zora here in a bit.
Problems not risking another bomb jump, doing the standard vanilla strats, and finding his Titan's mitts well rewarded.
Oh my goodness. Ice Palace memes, let's go. So, I'm not going to lie, we could actually see Lamp in Ice Palace.
Yeah, I mean, we have Bombos as a means to get in there. Ice Palace would be really interesting. We haven't seen a map. Oh, here's our first map check, and it's a red crystal.
All right, so our pendants are Swamp as green with Thieves Town and Misery Mire as the other two.
So Problem's getting his first red coastal right now. Going to Ice Palace would be amazing.
We'd still have to be able to find the boots at some point for Lamp to be an Ice Palace, so that we could get the flippers.
Yeah,
the flippers would put it in logic, but that's still hilarious.
I was just going to say that it would be a sequence break without the flippers, and you'd be gambling on finding Hammer in Ice Palace in order to actually complete it. But we've seen Problems making some aggressive plays, but I don't think we're going to see something that aggressive.
Speaking of aggressive, it's desert time for Problems, it looks like. Together with Mire Shed and all that mess.
This is a good play. You get the two easy items, the Mire Shed. We found out Quake is our medallion, so we don't have the ability to get in. We don't have the boots or hook shot to get past the first room, even if we could open it up. But we will get Checkerboard Cave and these two items. If Desert isn't boots locked, we could potentially full clear that as well. If they find the lamp, they will need a fire source in order to clear that all of Desert.
So Problems is probably going to hope to never see the Quake Medallion, to be honest, on account of the pendant status of Misery Mire.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit concerned for Problems at this point. Not having the bow, will keep him out of the pod eastern region. He might, try to find the bow elsewhere, and the bow blocks both the hook shot and the fire rod. Fire rod is going to be his Skull Woods access. That's currently the only fire source. There's a lot of progression that he doesn't have open. Hookshot is his East Death Mountain access. Jim has a very, very nice item advantage at the moment.
So Jim did find a small key on Moldorm, but we know that the basement is just the other dungeon item, as we have found both a bomb upgrade and the second glove in Tower of Hera. Now, Problems finds a dungeon item on the torch, so we're not boots locked.
No, not boost locked. We'll be able to get both of the items if they're prior to Land Molus. We got the big key there, so this is going to be the small key in the chest. We would need a lamp to be in the right side of Desert in order for Problems to be able to continue. Otherwise, he's going to be kind of done in Desert. Yet another place that he's gone that won't lead him any more progression.
All right, so Jim is setting up for the full traversal of East Death Mountain here.
Yeah, this is 6 items in the Dark World, 8 items in the Late World, Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave. Plus he gets to know what the medallion for TR is. There's a nice sword there for Problems.
Yep. I imagine it's something that Jim will probably get, though he could come to Desert in Go mode. So we'll see. But that is both items now for Desert.
I think Desert will probably be early enough in Jem's routing. There's the Ice Rod, so he's got everything he needs for Turtle Rock once he gets the hammer. And a medallion to get in if it's not Bombos.
That is very possible. That's very true. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And I would not be surprised to see the hammer up here, to be honest.
Yeah, this is sequence broken because the big key in Eastern. This is all sequence broken because we don't have the lamp, and the hookshot was behind lamp. So hammer might be less likely to be up here if lamp is behind hammer. We'll have to wait and see where the hammer ends up being. This is frustrating to see Problems head into yet another dungeon that he's not going to be able to complete. It doesn't have that fire rod, so won't be able to go to Mothula. Maybe after this, he'll go down and do Thieves Town, a pendant, and without the hammer, won't be able to full clear that dungeon either. That early Eastern play just had 3 massive progression items in the bow, fire rod, and hookshot.
Half magic in the bonk chest in Hookshot Cave, which is perfectly fine, but not necessarily what you're looking for. There's ether and a big heart.
I was kind of expecting Quake to be in that last chest.
Did we see what was on the floating island yet?
If we did, I missed it. Quake is our medallion for both of the dungeons.
So Quake it is. Floating island is Cape. So Jim is changing his mind. Gonna go get it.
I'd say that's a very good call from Jim. The Cape in and of itself might not be incredibly important, but if it blocks an item on bumper ledge and you would have to backtrack all the way up here for it, then in that case, that could be a massive time loss. Problems trying to do this bomb jump, 2 pixels without the boots to give you the bonk advantage. Manages to get it on a second try, just a small key though.
Alright, speaking of the cape, we're going to go see what the cape unlocks over here for problems. Great.
5 bombs. So the cape is an optional item.
So Problems will be able to skip that if he decides to. Now, the other thing we have access to or the other thing we don't have access to up on Death Mountain, you would think we might have access to Spike Cave. We don't. We need the hammer.
That is correct. Just Spiral Cave is the last thing that Jim can do up here. It was a pretty productive find though, and he's going to find that Quake is the other medallion in the mire area, which we don't know where Quake is yet. And we also don't yet know where the boots are. That's going to be a big item since Ice Palace is a crystal, and we know the flippers are at the library. We know where you have to find Boots of the Seed. And they have to be before Ganon's Tower.
I personally think Zora is selling a different type of footwear today. I think that's what's happening here.
Well, they have the money, and Zora has been in Logic for a very long time, ever since they got that glove. You got to keep in mind, you can always walk over to Zora. You don't need the flippers to get there. Being the item that sells you the flippers, of course. Oh,
nope,
never
it's
mind.
in the chest game.
That's a really nice item to find for Problems. That will unlock the flippers. Might give him some motivation to check the 4 remaining Zora's Domain items that he hasn't done. Maybe he'll route it in with Catfish and Mirror over there. He's got a lot of options at the moment. If they don't include Eastern Palace, though, he's not going to find the progression he needs.
Very true. Now, the Ice Palace meme is alive and well, because we now have actual logical access to Ice Palace. At least the front part of it.
So what was the meme? Just going into Ice Palace? Because it's a crystal. They have to do it.
Well, I mean, just going into Ice Palace really, really early, right? Like, nobody does that. And the actual meme, what they were talking about beforehand, was going in without the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, I don't even know how you do that.
Well, you just die. Because if you go into Ice Palace without the Moon Pearl and you die, you revive as Link.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I
Now
never even thought about that.
we did see the silver arrows in the front of Thieves Town over here for problems.
So once he gets his bow, he'll have a slightly nicer Eastern Palace with those silvers. They don't make a huge time savings though.
Now Jim is going to go ahead and finish off Landmo because it is a crystal, very required.
Yeah, Jem did do the right side of desert and also picked up that Master Sword. So they have sword parity now.
So the rods and the capes. So the fire rod was in the big key chest of Eastern Palace. The ice rod was in Paradox Cave. And the cape was on the floating island. Now the hook shot was on Armos. And that's why Gem has all that stuff and Problems does not.
Absolutely, and all of that was opened up from the bow being in the back of Sashirala's hut, right next to Eastern. So Eastern just gave everything that Gem needed. This is a really interesting play from Problems because we're going into a blue-red pendant Thieves Town. We haven't found anything other than silvers at the moment, and he doesn't have the hammer to check if there's an item in the big chest. So a lot of gambles in this play. He'll be able to get the maiden chest, and if that's not a key, then he'll be able to get the last item off of blind. Otherwise, he's going to have to mirror out of here. But that's a third crystal for Gem, having cleared desert. Alright, so what we want to find here is an item for Problems, and we find
it's
this
a small key. Oh no.
So did we get all the dungeon items yet? It could still be the map or compass, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Maybe he'll pull out Burna
I
here.
think we've seen at least one of them.
Oh, keep an eye on his inventory if he does a changeover to maybe Burna for this fight.
Nah, Problems doesn't have any trouble with blind. Why would we need emergency Brian strats?
Yeah, I was thinking too much about what I would do in this situation, but you're right. Top 32 runners finds a red crystal there.
I think that's the fourth item.
All right. Hopefully that is. I'm sure somebody in chat will have counted all the items. Picks up a blue pendant, which, as far as we know, is useless, but might work out in the end. I can't think of what could be on the pedestal, though. I can't think of anything that could be on the pedestal that would be useful. The only item, yeah, I mean, they need Quake. I guess Quake can't be there because that's Meyer.
Lux Meyer.
And the only item that we need is Hammer, which can't be there because Thieves Town is dependent. So Head's effectively dead.
So it is true that because Thieves Town is dependent, we can't have Hammer there because of the whole weird. Wait, no, the small key was found, so blind isn't hammer locked. But Swamp Palace is hammer locked, so you ain't doing that.
Yes, Swamp is definitely blocked by the hammer. My understanding of Thieves Town is that the logic always requires the hammer, even though you have to absolutely go out of your way to mess it up. I think just the logic doesn't put the hammer locked behind the Thieves Town.
No, I've seen hammer on blind before, so. But basically,
Oh, okay.
If the small key is in the big chest, then it's hammer locked. That's the rule.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes more sense, Bob. I know you can, you can take the key from the spike room and potentially walk that all the way down to the big chest and lose a key that way. But like I said, you really have to be trying to lock yourself out of that dungeon.
Right. So Problems did go ahead and pick up the flippers, which, as we all know, are logically required. Yeah. And just some bombs from the blacksmiths.
Yeah, no hammer. They have a whole wall full of hammers, but they're not willing to share. So this is our first look at the Smith's chain. This will be our first purple chest, our first key 45 check, and I don't think we've seen any of these Southern Dark World checks from either player actually.
Yep. So we'll see Stumpsman. We'll see the good old pipe cave. All that mess. We could see a first chest of swamp check.
Oh gosh, I hope not. So what?
If the hammer is in first chest of swamp and Problems checks it, that's probably like, makes up for not having the bow at this point.
Well, I actually think that this route is really good for Problems. So we just the fighter shield there from Stumpy. With Kakariko being your only Dark World access, it takes a long time to walk to the Dark World. So it makes a lot of sense for him to turn in Purple Chest and then swim over to do the pod Eastern area. If he does that, that's going to get him his bow and all the other main progression that he needs.
Hammer is absolutely in play, as pointed out by the chat there.
Yeah, he just made that a lot less likely by running over here before turning in the Purple Chest, though.
Hey, there's a book.
All right. Well, that'll give him Bombo's tablet check when he turns the Purple Chest in.
That is certainly the right time to pick that up.
Yeah, I'd still like to see him go over to try to do Pod Eastern. He'll be able to check Sasha's hut on the way. That'll give him the bow, and then that's going to lead to everything he needs in Eastern Palace. And without having a hammer, this is the best time to do it.
All right, so Jem's going to go ahead and dip back into the Dark World after clearing out Moth. That is 4 crystals for Gem, by the way.
Yeah, all 3 of the remaining crystals that Gem requires, though, are all in some capacity hammer-locked locations. So we are going to need to find that hammer pretty soon. And the probability of it being, that first chest in Swamp or somewhere in Ice Palace or in Palace of Darkness is getting higher as we go. Problems not fluting away. I am really glad. It's Swamp Palace.
Oh my god. Oh no, he's fluting. Well, he's leaving his portal there, so maybe he's checking some of this, and I don't know what he's doing. Bonkrock's King's Tomb?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Bonkrock's King's Tomb, if you find your hammer at these locations, you can flute back and your portal's still there.
Also a lumberjack check. Oh, I stand corrected. There's an item in the big chest of Thieves Town.
Oh, interesting. But I do like this routing from Problems. It's not so just 5 hours in lumberjack. That's garbage. If he finds the hammer, though, then he can go right back, and his portal will be waiting for him. And I think Gem is going to do these northern checks now as well. We'll probably do Graveyard Ledge as well as the bonk spots, and maybe also check Lumberjack now while he's up here. This will also be Jem's first bumper ledge check. He does have the cape, so he could have gotten that if it was something useful.
I know if I was heading this direction and I was Gem, I might actually go like the full overworld. So do like this, do Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb, Graveyard Ledge, go over to Catfish, Mirror to Zora, but he doesn't have the flippers yet, so he should do that first.
Yeah, that would be a great time to get the Catfish. Really, no better time. And keep in mind, the players are limited with Kakariko being their only access to the Dark World. So every time they want to go over to Pod or down the swamp, they have to start back in Kakariko.
All right, so Problems is making the gamble on the one chest in Swamp Palace that he can access.
This isn't that big of a gamble. If it's the hammer, that's going to be great, because Gem might not come back here. If this is not the hammer, he immediately mirrors out and then continue on to Palace of Darkness or wherever he wants to go next. Not a huge time commitment.
Oh my God!
He's off! Oh! Massive payoff for Problems.
Are you kidding me right now?
I am not kidding you. That is a massive payoff for Problems.
So one major problem for Problems, not going to get the hook shot in here.
Well,
but he doesn't necessarily need to finish the dungeon anyway.
Yeah, green pendant swamp. It would be nice to just do the back and pick up the pendant, but I think that the only item that we are still looking for no mode would be Quake.
Yep, Quake Medallion is it today.
So I don't know what to think for Problems. Finding the hammer there was definitely nice. I would absolutely expect Gem will dip ice looking for the hammer long before he dips into swamp. He's dipping into Pendant Thieves Town now, I guess, as well. So that's a good find, but it can also lead Problems astray. He might do Misery Mire and some other areas before going into Eastern.
So I know this isn't like the end of the world, but Gem just walked right by the bombable hut in Village of Outcasts without opening it. And that's something I've forgotten to do on occasion.
Was there a big item in
No,
there?
It's just very strange that it was still unopened.
Gem is really reluctant to pick up those flippers.
Right now.
Still doesn't want them.
Well, he's gonna mirror to get them over here. Wow, good on Jim for knowing where that mirror spot was. I'd have bonked for 7 days.
Yeah, you and me both. So Problem is doing left side swamp without the hook shot. He's going to have to come up here twice, fall down on each side, then climb back up. The best thing for Problems would be Quake coming over here, I think, just because he's not going to want to come back here later. And that's one more thing that's going to be out of the way for Gem. But there's just a shield. If Problems continues on and does the Pod Eastern combo, then he'll find that bow, and with the hammer, he'll be able to full clear Pod and finish up that section all together. So really, really hope he heads over there.
I think there's a chance that Problems goes straight to Ice Palace from here. Because he knows he actually can clear Ice Palace.
Ice would be a decent play as well. He'll lose some time in ice if Gem ends up being able to go mode it, which is more likely given what Gem still needs to pick up. But he's fluting away, so look, he's fluting into ice. You were right. So without the hook shot, he might not be able to logically clear all of Ice Palace, but with bomb jumps, he'll definitely be able to get all 3 items and the crystal. So Gem doing the Smith's Chain, I like this tactic. You take damage, and then you can run with the purple chest. Also works with the orange bomb. He's turning in the chest first, so he'll get the book. Might not come back to Bombos. Really be interesting to see if he makes that Swamp Palace gamble, though.
It would be a very interesting play, and I'm not gonna lie. In this particular scenario, it feels like going to pod would be a more appealing play for Gem, just because you can basically clear everything but Helmasaur if you have the bow.
Yeah, we got our first item there in Ice Palace is the magic powder. So that does open up the magic bat for Problems as well, if he wants to get that item, because he has the hammer as well, so that would be fully accessible either with the hammer or the mirror. But I agree with you. Gem, Ice Palace, Palace of Darkness, these are crystal dungeons that you can get most of the items out of, and they tend to be more likely locations for the hammer than Swamp.
And so Gem is heading back over to Bombo's tablet. This might give him the idea of dipping Swamp on the way out. I wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not putting any money on a Swamp play for Gem. Problems is doing very well in Ice Palace. Doing these low percent strats. Takes out those penguins. A little bit of irony there. Penguin taking out the penguins. I'm sure he didn't feel good about it, but you got to do it.
Well, here's the thing. From Problems' perspective, those are pen gators. Those are like unholy abominations of science, and Problems must purge them from existence.
All right, that makes sense. They're not Penguin Pete analogs. They're evil penguins. All right, so Gem keeping that portal there. I think this really looks like the pod play. I meant Zora's Domain.
Yeah, yeah.
So you must be feeling really frustrated. 50 minutes in, still no hammer. Third sword though, that's nice.
Yeah, I've certainly seen worse. Waterfall caves. Ooh, Gem is taking that damage on purpose?
Yeah, he's setting up for Death Orb so he won't lose his portal. That's my guess.
Ah, okay. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
I didn't either. So that's my guess. Excellent bomb jump there from Problems. Getting across that normally hookshot locked location to these right side items.
That is some sick strats there. Lays the bomb, takes damage into the cutscene, and after it it bounces into him, so he picks it up, and then he dies immediately afterwards. That is some 6/6 strats right there.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. I've never seen anyone death warp at Zor to maintain their portal. Very heads up play, and I don't think you normally see that, because if he's trying to get over to Palace of Darkness or Hobo or whatever, normally you have the hammer, so you just flute to 5. It's only when Kakariko is your entry point that this becomes such an issue.
All right, so I've now seen 2 items out of ice with a heart container and the magic powder. Was there another one?
I only seen those 2. I saw a compass show up. So we haven't seen the map yet either. And I guess he doesn't have the big key. Or he has the big key, but he didn't check the big chest.
Being told there was a big 20, and so this is Problems going ahead and finishing it out.
That makes sense.
All 3.
Yeah, because he had the big key, but didn't go to the big chest. So that must have been a map or a small key. So this is our first pyramid check from Gem. And then will we see Catfish or Pod? Probably, I could say probably Catfish. He just does not want to go in the pod. Nope.
If he wanted to do Catfish, he would have done that together with Zora's Domain.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how that would have changed his routing with the portal and everything, but I think you're probably right. This is a really difficult green mail hammer cold stare fight.
Gross.
Oof! 1 hit left. Just oh, there we go. Wow, nicely done. Problems.
So the rods were in Eastern and Paradox Cave. We're not bow-locked here in Pod, which, to be honest, if you're Gem, you would very much like to avoid the bow-locked side at this point. Mainly because it would require you to backtrack out or mirror out.
Yeah, it's not... I mean, you're going to have to probably go over there for, either an item or a key anyway. So that's not a big deal. It's kind of a pain if you have to death warp, but with the mirror, it's kind of a standard, strategy. Problems though, he now has all of these warp points open, but didn't go to. He's doing the pyramid fairy. Okay.
Very nice play. In fact, if I'm reading Problems plays here, I'm thinking pyramid fairy, Catfish, Zora's Domain, ice. Oh, he just did ice. Then back to Pod, or Pod Eastern.
Well, nice movement there with the purple bomb, doing the screen transition. As long as you transition when it's 0, you get to keep your bomb. Saved a lot of time there. I'm not sure where his route's going to head. I think he's looking for the hook shot. He's looking for the bow. He's looking for the fire rod, and all of these are in the same spot.
Quake!
Required pyramid fairy.
All right, so now we know where all the things that we need are. Yep, and Problem's going off to Catfish. Going to take care of all of Zora's Domain and Catfish at the same time, which is the best way to do it.
This makes sense, and this is why I expected Gem was probably going to do Catfish. If the hammer was up here, it would have let him avoid a double dip into Palace of Darkness. but it's not a mistake, doing pot first, because there could be 5 items that he could get to, 4 to 5 items he can get to before he's hammer locked, versus 1 on catfish. So they're both good plays. In this case, neither is the right play, though.
Though Problems will be getting the tempered sword out of this, so that is going to make things a little easier as we move on from here.
Yeah, Gem has all the for this seed easy to find major progression items. Problems has all the hard to find ones. Problems has the hammer and the Quake medallion, and Gem has the bow, the hookshot, and the rods.
So yeah, this is going to be just a really interesting finish to this race. I mean, it seems like Gem is way ahead, but at the same time, he's got to find that hammer, and then he's got to find the Quake, which the hammer he'll probably find soon. He's running out of places to check, but then he gets that, and where does he go from there? Well, everywhere, right?
Well, I think it's actually looking better for Problems the more that we've seen. Having the hammer in Swamp means that Gem with the hookshot might be a little bit more likely to spend time in Swamp as well, maybe clearing the back that Problems wasn't able to do. Quake was in the absolute best spot from Problems' point of view. That eliminates the possibility that Gem can go mode ice. He's going to have to search those 3 items looking for Quake, because Quake is blocked behind that red crystal. So there's 0% chance that he can go mode it.
Now, once again,
I think
we did miss one little thing. The lamp was available in pod, I think.
Yeah, I saw it. I just didn't point it out because it's the lamp.
But that fixes all of our logic, is the thing. All the logic is now fixed.
That is a good point. So we don't have to keep track of the sequence breaks anyway. So this is interesting. Problems. This is his first trip to the East Death Mountain. He's doing it with the hammer though, whereas Gem did this with the hookshot.
Mm-hmm. So Problems is going to pick up the ice rod while he's here. Oh, Gem is going back into Thieves Town.
So there's a chance that Problems might dip into Turtle Rock. The best case scenario for him would be to be locked out in the very first chest. And not be able to progress, because he does not have the fire rod. So any progression into Turtle Rock is going to be a waste of time for him. We want him to be locked out as quickly as possible.
Right.
But that is a good play, though. God Pixel from Gem in the Hellway. That's beautiful. But Fire Rod absolutely can be in that first chest in Turtle Rock, or even the second chest in the Chain Chomp room. So it's not an abnormal play to dive in there if you have the Cane of Samaria.
There is the weird seed where Fire Rod could be on Laser Bridge. Very specific layout.
Well, he's got a mirror shield now. That might also make you think Laser Bridge. So this is Problems doesn't know it, but this is really great for Gem. Gem is going to all of these locations that Problems has already done. None of them yielded any value, so this is time that Problems is recuperating. And as soon as he makes that Eastern play, he's going to catch up on major progression. And Gem also cannot check this Thieves Town big chest.
Yep. Hammer in Swamp is just the worst. Unless you're a fan of Problems IRL right now.
Well, in their first race, they they both went into Thieves Town and found the hammer in the Maiden's chest. So hammer can definitely be in here. Players who put Thieves Town off until they find the hammer can find themselves making a big incorrect choice. So I don't blame them for hoping it's in here.
Ooh, Jim with the save and quit before picking up the pendant there, because who needs it?
Well, Jem knows that the hammer and Quake cannot be on the pedestal, so that's really good. He's read the knowledge, he's put the time in to think about it. He doesn't even need to check it.
Checking Ice Rod Cave for the first time.
Yeah, really heads up. It's difficult in a race to actually look at all the items you have and think about the logic that far ahead. It's a lot easier for us as viewers to sit back and say, "Oh, okay, it's not going to be on ped."
All right, first chest in Turtle Rock. 10 arrows. We're out.
That's the best outcome Problems could have hoped for.
So I expect this is a Spike Cave check coming for Problems. And then after that, I surmise we will then find he will basically have no other choice but to go over to Pod and Eastern.
Yeah, this could be one of those situations where a player starts thinking, if the item was in X location, then I've already lost. In this case, Eastern area for Problems, and then you tend to put it off, even though at the moment that's the most item dense location available to him. So it's not good to put it off from a items per minute perspective.
So Jim is making probably the most unfortunate move of all, diving Ice Palace without the hammer.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. It's possible for him to find at least 2 items in this dungeon without the hammer. I don't know if you can. I don't think you can find 3, but maybe you can. Versus the 1 in Swamp.
Wait a minute. Is Problems going into Mire?
Ooh, bad move for Problems. So only 2 items in Misery Mire. There's more than that sitting in the back of Sashurala's hut. So he is avoiding Eastern, despite that being the most item dense location open to him. He is just completely avoiding it. Nice Mire 2 room though, with the Canis Mario strats.
And we will see Problems heading for the first chest here. Or the Spike chest, we could do that too. That is a setup for that bomb jump that I have never seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of positions that bomb jump works. It's not one of the more difficult ones to do.
Oh, there's the big key on the bridge of Mire, which is something you love to try to see if you have the elite hover skills.
Yeah, there's God Key Mire in a dungeon that Problems doesn't even need to go into and still needs the items from anyway. Unfortunately, it's not a good time to see God Mire.
I feel like Godmire should be the name of a boss somewhere.
So I'm thinking of like what are did Problems do the magic bat yet? That's one location?
I don't believe he has.
So after Meyer, like where else can he go other than Eastern?
Yeah, I think Magic Bat is basically it.
And Meyer's not even a good gambler because one of the items, the vanilla big key location, that's also fire source locked. So yeah,
and that's the last chest that Jim is able to check here in ice, and he's going to bail. So I think for that particular one, he's got Magic Bat and Swamp. So he's going to check that first, it looks like. So he refuses to believe that the seed would troll him this hard.
Yeah, without the hammer, he does have to go into the Dark World and then lose his Dark World portal in order to get this item. This will be our first look at the Magic Bat. After this, I think you're right, Bob. I think he's basically going to have to do Swamp, unless we missed something. Problems not finding anything in Meyer. Maybe this will finally lead him to the Eastern area.
Well, I think he's doing Bat as well.
He can do Bat in the Light World.
Yeah, I don't know why he's doing this. Oh, well, he's going to combine it with Peg Cave.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, he didn't decide to go to Vitreous, who I believe still had an item.
That might have been even more of a gamble than Problems is willing to make. No lamp to do the dark rooms. Might have said this is just, really silly. Going to a pendant boss during a dark room sequence break.
Yeah, that might be a bridge too far.
I don't blame Problems for making the gambles though. He forfeited in his first race. Jim had a massive lead, and he won the second one by only a minute and a half. So he probably doesn't feel super confident coming into this race that he can dominate Gem. And we saw him making these out of the way checks. Ice Rod Cave, Aegina's Cave. It paid off in the Hammer. It paid off in Quake. He just hasn't gone to Eastern.
Yeah, there we go. Jim once again going by the brewery. I keep noticing it's still closed every time he dashes by it.
So once again, with Kakariko being your only entrance to the Dark World, that's the long way to get the Swamp. But as soon as he finds his hammer here, does he leave or does he do more Swamp?
I don't know. You could actually clear it, but if you're looking for Quake, maybe you do.
Well, he can't get in the Turtle Rock without Quake, and there isn't that much left in Ice and Pod. Just the crystals. I'd say the 6 items in Swamp and plus the 7 with the green pendant is a better gamble than the 2 Pyramid Fairy. So I think Gem will probably full clear this dungeon.
Yeah, it seems likely.
And
Problems finally gets the bow.
Finally gets the bow.
So, if he does Eastern first, he will actually be able to go mode Pod. Nope, Gem is bailing.
Big play for Gem. Not clearing that dungeon. So he's going to finish up Palace of Darkness. He's going to finish up Ice. At that point, he's not going to have Quake. So, he might go back and do Swamp. Before doing Pyramid Fairy, he's got a lot of these one-off hammer locations like Peg Cave and Spike Cave. If he doesn't prioritize Pyramid Fairy, he could waste a lot of time that will allow Problems to make up a little bit.
All right, so Problems is going to take care of Eastern first, and if he goes to the vanilla big key chest, he will be in go mode coming out of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, he's got more to do, but Desert isn't that long, Skullwoods isn't that long. Problems will be in a very good position. Because Gem, if Gem immediately does what he needs to do, does Pod, Ice, and then immediately does Pyramid Fairy, I think Gem will be ahead. But if he searches other locations looking for Quake first, then I think Problems will probably have the advantage, assuming that he does get that Fire Rod.
Now, there is the off chance that Problems decides I'm going to gamble that there's nothing in the big key chest of Eastern, and that would cause a disaster.
Well, I don't think it's too likely because the bow doesn't.
Well, he's going for it, so.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, the bow only locks things in Eastern and Pod, so that doesn't open up anything outside of these two dungeons. And given everything else he's already done, I think he would probably have to come back here, anyway, immediately. I don't know where else the Fire Rod could be for him. He's gone into Turtle Rock. He's gone into the front of Skullwoods.
Right. So we're gonna get the Fire Rod here. We're gonna get the hook shot on Armos. Though the hook shot, not technically required for this run, if you can do the hover thing, but not unwelcome either.
Meanwhile, Gem very easily clears out House of Darkness and picks up his 5th crystal on Helmsor King.
I hope for his sake he's not one of those people who splits on crystals, because this would be a long split.
That would be. Yeah, it has been quite a while since he's got his 4th crystal. At least it wasn't as bad as their second game. That ended up being, go mode their go mode item was Boots locking Desert, and they both spent so much time. It was a mushroom and Misery Mire, and the Boots were on the mushroom. It was just, they both called it 8th Spear Boots. It was that hard to find. But there's the hook shot, and there's the crystal for Problems.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Problems will now be heading back into Pod, finish that off. Now, the downside with this is, although he can go mode it, it's not going to be a dungeon that's really conducive to go moding, because the big key is in the dark maze.
Okay, so yeah, if the big key is in the right side, then you can just do the right side and then continue straight on the Helmsor. But that's pretty rare. This is kind of a pain in the butt dungeon. So hopefully he realizes that he's in go mode and treats it as such. Sometimes finding 3 items in such short order like he did sometimes takes a little while to put everything together and realize, wait, that was everything I needed.
I think Problems probably had enough time to sit there and think of exactly what he needed to do.
I'd say most likely. He's got the silvers, he's got the tempered sword. The only thing that he could really want item-wise at this point would be, I guess, the a mail upgrade maybe. I'd say that would probably be preferable even over the lamp. I'd rather have the blue mail than the lamp.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm guessing that the mail upgrades are in GT. One of them might be in Turtle Rock or something.
So Problems is doing right side first. I think this is the move that you make if you think you're in go mode and you're just looking for the big key. So he's sending us the right messages there. And there is his lamp. So these dark rooms are no longer an issue. I love that bonk.
So I guess that means Problems is in logical go mode now.
Yes, a nice ice physic navigation from Gem's side. Problems going to the right side first, so this is going to give him the big key at the absolute last spot.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the order you do it, though. There's no real reason to go Dark Maze first.
Yeah, you want to mirror out of the end of Dark Maze instead of walk out. So this is definitely the more efficient route. It's just in this very rare situation where you're go moding pod, it's less than optimal, but it's not a big deal. He's got what he needs.
Oh, Jim with the poke dashing and everything.
Beautiful cold stare fight. Gem is definitely showing us some really amazing execution today. All right, so here's the moment of truth. Gem immediately goes to Pyramid Fairy. Then it's going to be go mode. Any time spent not going to Pyramid Fairy is lost time at this point. Gem needs only Quake, and we know where it is, and it's open to him.
He's going to 4. So this is either Pyramid Fairy or dipping back into Swamp, and I would bet a reasonable amount of money it's Pyramid Fairy.
Well, I think Swamp is the better play if you're looking at pure items, and then you do Pyramid Fairy after Swamp. But he's making the Pyramid Fairy play, so I said, not the most item dense location, but it's the right play.
Yeah, the reason I don't go Swamp is just because the whole sequence to get into Swamp is such a pain. The whole mirror section and all that mess. It's just and it's a very, very long time commitment, whereas this is a short run to the pyramid.
I guess that's probably a good point. I look at the 7 items in Swamp versus the 2 that are up here. So I think of more terms of items per minute, but this is not that long of a check. So I think you're right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the items per minute actually comes out even. And there's actually only 6 left in Swamp because we got that hammer. So
that's a good point. All right, so that is go mode for Gem now. An hour and 18 minutes left. Gem can go immediately to Turtle Rock. Problems is going to need to pick up the Skullwoods crystals and the Desert crystals after finishing off Helmstor here before he's able to do TR. So lead change was looking like it might have been Problems for a little while, but now it's firmly in Gem's hands.
Yeah, it is Gem's race to lose right now. The only minor advantage Problems has in Turtle Rock is that he's already opened it and already checked 1 chest, but that's not going to be enough. Now, luckily, the Skullwoods or the Desert Palace will be very quick. Skullwoods will also be pretty quick. So Problems should be able to take care of business pretty soon. But once again, Jim is in this, or just about to be in the 7th Crystal Dungeon in Go mode. You know what? I think the actual downfall for Problems here was that he went into Mire. If he hadn't gone into Mire, I think this would be a much, much closer race. All right, so Jim is now heading into the right side of Turtle Rock. Light some torches, see what we can find over here.
So I mean, Jem's play has just been absolutely fantastic. That early Eastern routing. I was talking about this earlier in the before the race started, but it felt like Jem was preordained to having an edge over Problems. Problems lost to Lane in the Swiss rounds. Lane lost to Andy in the top 32. Andy lost to Jem in the fall. So follow the chain of logic, and Problems has to lose.
I mean, you know, any given Sunday, except it's Saturday.
Yeah, it's statistics fail, I'll admit.
Though there is a very interesting rankings method for players that uses head-to-head results like that in a sort of like graphical way. It's very interesting to look at. That being said, nobody's done the compilation for rando beat paths, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, that logic is worse than randomizer key logic. Taking 4 runners across 3 races in randomizer in 2 tournaments does not allow you to draw any conclusions. Problems is very efficiently just cleaning up here. Had a nice clean moth out of the fight. And it's just going to finish off Lammo. It's unfortunate that these are all double dip dungeons. That hammer play was such a terrific gamble into swamp. But the putting off Eastern for so long and so much progression being over there, he's got to be kicking himself.
Ether not important for this particular run.
Yeah, we didn't need either of the other medallions. Bomb boost sometimes can be useful for getting access to Ice Palace if you don't have the Fire Rod. Not required in this particular seed. And
right, not even logically.
And not even logically required. And Ether was also it can come in handy for like some rooms in the Gauntlet. If you need the help, but I would be surprised if either runner uses it.
Although Bombos was what Problems used to clear out Ice Palace, because he did not have the Fire Rod at the time.
Yeah, you can definitely use it, and I think Bombos is great to have in Ice Palace if you don't have half magic. It gives you a lot of extra Fire Rod shots for Cold Stare. Really can make a difference if you're in there with the Fighter Sword or the Master Sword. But in this particular seed, it wasn't logically required or even needed for execution because they got the Tempered fairly early. And Jem is going in here to pick up his 7th crystal, and after this, it'll be game time. If Dr. Bob, if you'd like to do the honors.
Well, I will let you all know that there will be a guessing game coming up, 1 to 22, where you think the Ganon's Tower big key is. 22 possible locations, and we'll be counting them as Jem heads through. If you are a subscriber to one of the Speed Gaming channels or have donated 250 bits or more, you can be entered into our leaderboard. Feel free to play along either way. We will be starting the game as soon as Jem picks up the crystal on our screen, which is very, very soon.
I see that you already got your guess of 14 in Twitch chat. Not making a Twitch chat guess myself, but I'm gonna guess the right side. I'll tell you why. In their first race, they came up here without the Cane of Samaria. Gamble going into Ganon's Tower without the cane. Didn't need it because the key was on the left-hand side. This seed, they got the cane super early, so I want them to need it. I want it to be the right side.
All right, then. All right, so Jem heading inside. We will stop this game as soon as Jem heads inside. All right, Jem checking the first 2 chests. We've got a green rupee and a compass, so no right side check today as Jem heads to the left side. Bob's torch, location number 3, is a small key. Rip Bob.
Yeah, gonna have to pick up that key. Ooh, and Problems doing a nice swag king kick there, but missing the crystals.
Chest number 4 through 7, we got small key, red ruby, and 5 bomb upgrade.
That's almost all of the small keys.
Yep, just one more in a location in Ganon's Tower. And because we found 3, shovel in number 8, because we found 3, we know that tile room is in play.
All right. Well, tile room would be a bit of a troll, but Jem is in here at an hour 25, so tile room play wouldn't be that bad. The seed has been very generous to Jem. This is chest number 9 coming up in the fire snake room.
Five bomb upgrade once again. Jem laying excessive bombs on the way to Rando Room.
Random room is my personal favorite room. I love Randomizer room. This will be 10 through 13.
Butter sword.
Butter sword
These
and
are-
10. That's nice.
There it is, number 12. Chest number 12 for the big key.
And a nice piece of heart gave a nice refill. So that was closer to 14 than you've seen in a little while.
True facts. As Jem makes his way up the gauntlet, a very nice Mimics 2, and we head to Spike Central.
Yeah, and congratulations to Scuddy for being the first Zelda supporter to guess number 12. I think Problems just has to grab that first key off Laser Bridge. That's all that we need from Laser Bridge. We have our 4th sword now, so Really, the only interesting items that I want to know where they are were the mail upgrades.
Yeah, it is quite strange to still see our runners on green mail all the way in here. And as a, card-carrying scrub lord, I would be, tempted to open some of the chests on the way up.
I'm not sure that I've ever seen Buttersword, Silver's Mirror Shield, and Green Mail.
Jim missing the last arrow. Ooh, this is turning into a 3-cycle Landmo too. Getting bodied by the Medusa there.
Yeah, fortunately, Jim only needs to make it to the the mini Helmosaur room. Probably won't take any more damage between here and there, and then can get 2 anti-fairies for a nice health refill before going into Moldorm 2. As long as you make it through Landmo, you can basically do the rest of this with 1 heart.
Excellent job on the second Wizrobe room there. That one's a little trickier than the first, but just as beautiful.
Meanwhile, Problems finishes up a very nice Trinex fight, and he is heading into Ganon's Tower now. We'll probably follow the exact same route that Jem did. Right side wasn't even an option, so not only did I lose out on routing, but I lost out on the possibilities.
Jim having no interest in these chests right here. Getting the bomb ready. And we'll see if he switches to powder. No, he's switching to hookshot.
Oh, wow. As Chap pointed out, an Aga 2 death would probably be the what Problems would need to catch up at this point, because that would tip him all the way back at the beginning of the tower.
It would take some real bad luck to have the Aga 2 death at this point, but it is not outside the realm of possibility.
He's got some potions too, but I would have powdered those anti-fairies. They're free health. Nice double for the first Aga cycle. And
oh! Nicely done with the triple, and yeah, I think the first one only counted as a single.
Still, 3-cycle Aga, very, very nice fight. And apparently, Jem did not need that health after all. Just scrubs like us get the anti-fairies, apparently.
Yeah, so seven hearts heading into Ganon, but I don't think he'll have any problems surviving here. Just need to make sure not to walk directly into Ganon. If you physically touch Ganon's body with green mail, you will be in a world of hurt.
Well, he's doing the dash strats, which I think is the most likely to give you a Ganon hug. So he is super confident on his ability, and that confidence is well deserved because he's in phase 3 already.
Ooh. Unleashes a little bit of fire here, but manages to calm the flames as Problems begins his ascent through Ganon's tower.
Those fire bats won't kill you in 1 hit like a Ganon hug will, but they do considerable damage. Nice setup there for a double.
And this should do it right here.
It looked like he was trying to get as close as he could without hugging Ganon. So, GG's to Gem with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 34 minutes, 34 seconds, and progression into the top 16 phase of the bracket tournaments. Get your GG's in chat. And Problems is not far behind, climbing the gauntlet currently. Didn't open any more chests, so still no mail upgrade. Ooh, also missing that Lambo. That's not a good day for Lambo fights.
Yeah, it happens to people. Alright, so Problem's now heading up. Finish off Ganon's tower. At this point, he knows that his opponent has finished, but he is going to go ahead and finish it out. Ooh. The spike trolled him there on the second Wizrobe room.
Also able to skip everything here in the mini Hummustorm room though, but with only 4 hearts, I'm hoping that we get to see these anti-fairies. There we go, there's the safety strats. And welcome Gem, congratulations on the win.
Thanks.
So clearly this seed kind of had your number a little bit with the hammer situation, but of course after you got the hammer, you were off to the races. One thing we noticed about this run was essentially that you seem to have done a ridiculous amount of boss practice, because you just had excellent boss strats the whole time.
Yeah, I put a bit of effort into that.
Just I was especially impressed with the poke dash strats on Cold Stare and things like that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that was, I think, the first quote-unquote advanced strat I learned for bosses, because I just thought it looked so cool.
Speaking of boss strats, Problem just got the double triple on Aga 2. Whew!
Oh, hey, there's one of our mail upgrades on pedestal.
Gross.
We didn't see any mail upgrades from either of you guys, Gem. You were one Ganon hug away from death that entire fight, and looked like you were trying to get as close as you possibly could without dying.
Yeah.
Very, very swag.
Well, it's not really swag. I do the dash strats because I feel most competent dodging the fire bats if I'm in the circle, for some reason. So yeah, that's why I do it, because so I can have an easier time dodging them.
I saw that you have very nice times, sub 130 NMG. So I guess with that much skill in those types of fights, you probably get used to doing something like the dash strats.
Yeah, and well, in NMG it's very rare I have more than 8 hearts for Ganon. Like very, very rare. So I'm used to being one hit away from death.
Alright, so we see Problems going ahead to finish off. Yeah, I mean, this could be a triple. Nope, it's just a double. And that will finish it off right there. So very close race here. So we had this whole back and forth. Like, Problems actually made the swamp play basically as early as possible. Like, he went there as early as it was reasonable. He just never went to Eastern and Pod until the very last moment.
Yeah, we talked about that, and it really sucks for him, man. Like, he should have won after going into Swamp that early, and it's really not even unreasonable to do it.
So did you did you head over to Eastern? Is that part of your standard route, or was that like an exception for you that just paid off extremely well?
I always do it if I have flute. I just always do it during my Sphere 1 checks. And yeah, I'm happy it paid off this time.
Yeah, Problems actually checked every Sphere 1 location except Eastern. So he checked Ice Rod Cave, Agina's Cave, all these other things, and I think he's joined us now. So
Hello.
As welcome, Problems. Congratulations with the official time of hour 40 minutes and 5 seconds.
Thanks. Yeah, that was something.
So I think the one thing that led to your real eventual downfall there, Problems, was the trip into Mire. That,
Yes.
to me, that was maybe a bridge too far on avoiding Eastern and Pod.
Imagine seeing that hammer and thinking, "GG, I win," and then it just leads to nothing. Absolutely nothing. I figured I was first to the hammer, and I'm probably right on that. Like, I was really early on that hammer.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I was like, I probably want to play to my advantage now, right? And follow that hammer. So I went Death Mountain, I went Ice Palace, and then Ice Palace led me to Fat Fairy, and Fat Fairy led me to Quake. And I was like, well, I'm gonna follow that hammer. And yeah, that didn't really work out. I guess the lesson to learn here is to never sleep too long on those Sphere 0 locations, because like if I go to Sahasrara after finding that hammer, I just win by like 10 minutes probably.
Yeah, basically.
But I basically gambled on that hammer being golden, and it wasn't, and it happens.
But there was a lot of that where you had the hammer, so you were able to go in the ice, and once you found Quake locked behind Ice Palace, we were talking about a lot of possibilities, like Gem will just be able to go mode ice, and Quake being where it was, eliminated all of those options. But then it just became down to, when is he going to go to Eastern? When is he going to go to Eastern? And it just took a little bit too long.
Yeah, Gem told me he had essentially hammer go mode.
Yeah, basically.
And that's a really good position to be in.
Yeah, with the exception of Quake, which you had to get from Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jim actually ended up doing a lot of unfortunate double dips, like Thieves Town. He went in there twice.
Oh damn.
He went into Ice Palace twice.
Probably Pod.
Yep. Double dip Pod.
Yeah, I figured like that hammer felt really good until it didn't lock a single thing. Like, it was pretty unfortunate. I think that early hammer was actually in the end worse to find. But yeah.
With Kakariko being your only Dark World entrance, we saw some really interesting portal strats.
Yes.
In particular, setting up the Death Warp at Zora to keep the portal at the Swamp Palace entrance. I've never seen that before. That was really interesting.
Oh, I was so proud of that.
That was interesting. I did something similar, but I didn't get quite that creative. That's nice. I need to see that. That's great.
I was so worried when the bomb hit me during the cutscene. I wasn't sure if it would like let me get the item or if it would just kill me before I even see the item. So yeah, I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Oh,
because it
so-
was super optimal.
So that was accidental then, because I was just sitting there singing the praises like, wow, he knew that he took damage going into the cutscene and then picked it up during the cutscene and then died immediately after the cutscene. He knew exactly what was going to happen there, and I was making that up.
Yeah, I wasn't quite that smart. I was, for some reason, thinking the bomb would, or like the timer of the bomb would be stopped during the cutscene. But yeah, it's never stopped during any cutscene, so why would it be stopped there? Now that I think about it, but yeah. I'm glad it worked out, because it probably looked really cool.
It did definitely look really, really cool. I actually was a little bit curious about your decision to leave Swamp as soon as you found the hammer and go to Pyramid Fairy first.
Oh yeah, that's
It's-
something I did too.
Yeah, it seems like both of those times you were still looking for Quake, and being already in Swamp, it looked like there was probably a good chance of it being in there. You made the right choices. I was just wondering what your thinking was.
Well, at this point, I thought I was pretty screwed if anything is in Swarm, because I figured props might have continued. So I was just hoping it would be on my way in Pod or in Ice. And, well, it wasn't. But after that, I just hoped he did the same mistakes as I did. And I could somehow get an edge in execution and just do the same route afterward and check Pyramid Ferry. And...
So-
yeah.
The problems did go a little further into Swamp, but didn't go all the way because lack of hookshot at the time.
Oh, right.
Yes, I basically got everything you could without the hookshot, and then left.
Dr. Bobtastic would really appreciate it, Jem, if you could go back to Thieves Town and pick up your third item from Village of Outcasts.
Oh, wait, did I?
The bombable hut.
Oops.
Oh damn!
It was closed every time you went by, and I was like, really?
skipped
Oops.
that before.
Oh man, if that had been Hammer. Yeah, I know why I skipped it actually, because usually I like open Thieves Town, then dash downward and go into Bombable Hut, and then go into Thieves Town. And after Thieves Town, continue to Sea House and then go south or north, depending on what I have. But for some reason this time I just went into Thieves Town right after opening it. So
Did you clear Thieves Town? Probably.
yeah, I went back to it
That's-
after
yeah.
Pod.
that makes
He
sense.
didn't pick up the pendant, though. He saved right after picking up the item.
Yeah, I only had Hammer and Quake left, so I knew it couldn't be on passive still.
No, that's fair enough. I didn't know that, so I picked up the medallion.
Yeah, that was really impressive too. Abandoning the pendant, knowing that it couldn't possibly be a pedestal seat.
Yeah, and I kind of regretted it right after, because I was planning to either check Catfish or Swamp after Thieves Town, but then I saved and quit out, and then I was committed to leaving the podcast, so I went into the ice. So yeah, if I hadn't been able to save and quit out of there, I might have found Tamara a bit earlier.
Well, Jem, you are going to be facing either TGH or GamerCal in your next tournament. TGH is currently up a win versus GamerCal. They are playing on Speed Gaming 5, a double header. Have you raced against either of those guys before?
Very rarely against TGH. I think only in weeklies. I don't remember who won most of the time. And yeah, I've raced a few times against Cal, and I'd say we're pretty even.
Feel pretty confident about the top 16?
Sure.
I mean, I'm still impressed with Jem from back when the entrance shuffle tournament happened. So that was some impressive work right there.
Yeah, let's just have a repeat of what happened at entrance, and I'll win this baby.
This was a nice. This was a particularly nice bracket. I mean, you guys got your first 2 races done a couple weeks ago, and then wasn't able to finish it up until today. But I'm glad I got a chance to catch all 3 of these races. I got the German versus German bracket taken care of. Problems. You had quite a run in this tournament. Very very nice Swiss. Both of the losses were to people who also made it to the brackets. But this is the end of the road. You got any final tournament thoughts you want to share?
That's fair. I mean, Jim is a friend of mine, and I knew I was probably going to lose this round. I just hope he's going to win the whole thing, so I can be like, okay, I lost to the tournament winner. What could I have done, right?
Exactly.
So I'll just be cheering for him for the rest of the tournament and watch him rock this.
I mean, that would make you second place by proxy, right?
Basically, yeah.
And just to clarify for chat, it's okay to kill the penguins in Ice Palace because they're evil penguins, right?
Exactly. That's how it works.
They're evil abominations that are crosses between penguins and alligators, and those should not exist anyway.
Exactly.
And so, just Jem, any last thoughts before we wrap things up and find out later on who your next opponent will be?
Well, I'm I'm somewhat bad that I won't have to face someone that's a pretty close friend to me next next race, because the 3 races in bracket so far are with people I talk to frequently. So it's gonna be a nice change. Yeah, other than that, thanks for commentating. Thanks for tracking, Reg. And yeah, looking forward to next round.
All right, then. Well, on that note, there is links in Twitch chat to follow both Jem and ProblemsIRL. Amazing racers, great execution, lots of skill apparent. So check out their links. There is another match going on, as previously mentioned. This is the second round of the doubleheader between GamerCal and TGH, currently playing over on Speed Gaming 5. That's 15 minutes in. There's also a race on Speed Gaming 2. This is the game 2 between Justin Z and Christos Owen. That is an hour in. So both of those would be good destinations for you guys to check out following this race. If you're going to be on a little bit later tonight, 10:30 p.m. EDT, 5.5 hours, is a race between Zero Rush and ACM LM. And that will wrap up the races for today. So lots of exciting rando action, and before we finish up top 32 and head into top 16. And on that note, I will thank our tracker, Ruggiero, for keeping us honest, doing an excellent job. The Speed Gaming staff for doing the restream. And Dr. Bobtastic, it's been a pleasure as always. And last words will go to you.
Well, it has been a pleasure as well, and thank you very much, Tiru, for joining me as well. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, best way to help the people out involved is to give them a follow here on Twitch. Everybody would appreciate that quite a bit. So with that, I will just say that I have been Dr. Bobtastic.
And I've been Tiru. You guys have a good night.
See you later.